Bienvenidos and welcome a Cositas Mami Never Told Me, a podcast that dives deep into the Latin cultural norms that have long haunted the feminine genre. Montate and buckle up porque it's going to be a roller coaster ride. ¡Nos fuimos!
Welcome back. Sorry.
Comedy Hour.
Our mics work.
With D Nice.
and Roxy Rockstar.
Wait. Anyway, as we have started to navigate this podcast world, we have run into several technical difficulties, today being one of them. Mm-hmm. If you are on our YouTube channel, you got to witness that. If you are not, and you are just listening to us as you're driving around to work,
get your ass to YouTube.
Get your ass to a YouTube, because that shit right there was good. Anyway, BTS. Behind the scenes. I think we should do a whole behind the scenes reel. Anyway, I'll probably get up really soon and close the door because it was hot and now we're going to get cold. But today we're talking about the hot and cold of sexo.
Mm. And not having to talk about sexo.
And not having to talk about getting hot.
And I don't know about other
cultures
and stuff, but we didn't get it. Well, I didn't get it. And we talked about it and she didn't get it either. So it's like.
So the no sex talk, what would it be exactly? So I guess it's referred to in America, right? Mm-hmm. As the birds and the bees. By the way, did we ever discover why it's the birds and the bees?
I have no idea. I can look it up real quick.
Do birds and bees mate? Is there something I'm missing?
Birds and bees mate?
Or do they mate? Yes, because why would it be birds and the bees?
I have no idea.
But no, I never had the sex talk. You never had the sex talk. Mm-hmm. My mom never had the sex talk. Actually, the extent of my sex talk was, if you let boys touch your breasts, they will get saggy and fall.
Mm.
That was the extent of the sex talk I had. What do you think you would have done differently if, first of all, do you think you would have been open to having a conversation with your mom about sex?
Yes. I would have been very open because I, as a child, wanted to know information about everything. So I wanted to know what was going on, but it was more like fear instilled in me about the sex, right? So if you have sex, you're gonna get pregnant. Mm-hmm. It wasn't talking about STDs or anything like that, which I thought would have been a good conversation to have.
Like, right.
When we started having
that would have been educational for sure.
Right, because I started learning about sex because. Now, it wasn't even middle school. Like my kids now, they said they started learning it in middle school, but I started learning it in high school. So when I got to high school, I was like, what is going on? Like, why are they talking to us about this? Because in my house, we didn't talk about it. So it felt taboo, right? So you're sitting there and they're talking about your ovaries, the penis, the shaft, and all this stuff. And I was just like, what is this? Why are they talking about this in school? And handing out condoms and shit. So when I brought that home, like, they were talking about this. My mother was like, oh my goodness, who am I calling? Because why are they talking about sex in your school?
Mm. Like, what class is that? Is there like sex ed?
Sex ed. Mm-hmm.
I don't remember if I ever had. My memory's bad. I don't remember. I think it's school. I think it was middle school.
Oh, you had middle school?
I think at Quirk Middle we had a sex ed situation, but it was so vintage even back then. It was more like body parts versus sex versus STDs versus protection. Mm-hmm. And then the funny thing is that your mom saying that having sex, you get pregnant probably worked because where we're from, a lot of people were pregnant at 15.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I have friends who are grandmothers right now.
I was scared as hell. Like, I was never getting at 18.
Oh, the funny thing is I always knew not to get pregnant. Like,
bad.
I lost my virginity, I think, pretty young.
I knew not to get pregnant, okay?
I was like 14, I believe, if I remember correctly, 14 or 15. But I just knew I didn't want to get pregnant. Mm. You know?
I was 18 and very scared. I just knew I was going to get pregnant. I just knew it.
Looking at a dick.
Looking at one. But it wasn't too far removed. I got pregnant at 20, 2 years later.
Your mom was right.
Right.
Have sex and you will get pregnant.
I mean, the first couple times wasn't even like good, but it was just like.
I mean, let's not talk about it. Let's actually talk about it.
It hurt.
So
it was awful.
I do think that if my mom would have had the sex talk with me, I would have. I mean, of course, now we're giving it perspective as adults, right? Mm-hmm. Now we're both moms. But I do think it would have empowered me more, I think. Mm-hmm. Now, I've been super blessed. I've never been in an abusive relationship. Thank God. I've always been even when I was my first boyfriend, I was 12, 13. We were together for 4.5 years or whatever. But it was always like I want to call it a healthy relationship for what it was at the time. So my experience is probably different from other women's experiences or girls who are younger who probably felt forced or probably felt whatever. He never made me feel like this was something we had to do. Mm-hmm. Obviously, because he was out there putting his penis in other people, but that's not the point. I came to find that out later. But with me, you know who you are. We know who you are. We see each other. Anyway, with me, I never felt pressured or pushed, right?
How are you just transitioning so smoothly?
This conversation, you gotta be able to be on and off. It's like boardroom to the block. You know what I'm saying? You gotta be able to be like this, and then you gotta be able to be like, "Hey, how are you?"
I'm sorry for my facial expressions.
Her resting bitch face is amazing.
I don't even mean to have
We've discovered this in editing, but yeah. So I feel like my first experience, I never had an experience where I felt pressured or pushed or whatever, but I feel like not having the conversation with my mom didn't empower me to at least go into a situation feeling like I knew what to expect. Yeah. I knew what to do. I knew not what to expect in the sense of like, obviously between two unique people, but like I knew that I could bleed or that insertion was part of it. Because for me, my first experience, I think it just came, and it's funny because he'll probably say it, who knows, the same way or not, but I was the one who was like, I just want to have sex. I just want to know already. Oh. Yeah. It was me. But I don't even know if it was like my body telling me or it was like, I just want to know.
You asked for it at 14 to get that dick.
So it was like 15. No, I wish if at 40, Rocio at 42 and Rocio at 15 was definitely not, let me get that dick. Now it's very much like, back then, it was very much like, there's an empty apartment upstairs and your dad has a key.
Oh.
Yeah.
At least I have an apartment.
That was my first experience. Very unromantic. It was in an empty apartment on a floor. And to his defense, he was very much like, are you sure? Are you sure? The whole time. I don't remember the details. But again, I feel like if I would have had a conversation with my mom, I would have gone more equipped in the sense of, kind of what to expect or how to put on a condom, like all these things where we were just like, this was obviously not his first time having sex, but he wasn't even the most experienced person. Like, it doesn't matter if you have at that age, no one is experienced, you know? So it's like, it almost does a disservice for both of us to never have had a conversation with adults who are partaking in this. And then also, let's not forget to mention that even though it is puppy love at that age, intimacy could be something that is not bad.
Right.
You know, because you're going through hormonal changes at the same time, you're curious. And if you find yourself in a relationship, because it is a relationship, even though you're 14, 15, you're going into teenagehood, you're going into adulthood. So I want to be fair to people in that demographic and say you are in a relationship of sorts. Mm-hmm. And the beauty is that you're both going through the same stage, but I just feel like if we would have been given some foundation, one of us could have came to the table with like, okay, this might happen.
You might bleed.
It's normal. Or just kind of journey it together. It's almost like giving it a little maturity, even though we were immature.
Right.
And I also probably feel like if I would have had the sex talk, I wouldn't have been so pressed to have sex.
So like that you would have been like already. Okay.
I'd be like, okay, cool. I know. Who's to say either way? But I would have been more patient, maybe, to be like, maybe not yet, maybe not right now. I mean, I ended up breaking up with my boyfriend soon after because then I found out he did cheat on me. But that was what was your first sexual experience?
It hurt because he was very
well endowed,
and he was very experienced too. Like he was older than me.
Oh, so that's but you were a little older.
Yeah, I was 18, but he was like 20.
Which, by the way, 18 and 15, huge.
And then at 18, like people were already thinking, you know, because I was so wild and crazy, whatever, and you know, I like to have a good time.
Were you wild and crazy?
Well, that I like to have a good time. They just automatically assumed that I had already lost my virginity. So let's not even like the projects I lived in. It was a bet of who would get me first.
Wow.
That's why I messed with no one there.
Do you think that was your no sex talk? In a sense?
I heard about it and I was like, I'm good with all these dudes already.
Well, I mean,
with any of them, but
it has to do with the caliber, quality.
Yeah, I was in a relationship with him for like a year and a half, and then I found out he paid me dirty too after the fact because he passed away. So and all these people came to the funeral. But anyways,
you mean like the other girls?
Yeah.
Wow.
He's actually coming back from seeing one of the girls when he died on a motorcycle accident. But anyways.
And you were his girlfriend.
I was a girl.
Active. Oh, rest in peace, butts.
Drama. No, but yeah, it actually the first time it didn't happen because it just couldn't happen. It was too big.
Wow.
so
that like set the bar.
Yeah. Then the second time there was, help. Lubes and all this stuff.
Oh. So but you said he was older.
Yeah.
Got it. Yeah, because I feel like at 15 talking about, well,
the first few
I don't know about kids nowadays.
It was out of it.
Really?
I was like, how is this enjoyable? Why do this?
When do I enjoy this? When do I start enjoying this? That is so interesting. Do you feel like
when did you enjoy the second time around? Did you enjoy the first time?
See, FYI, I had a concussion probably like 12 years ago, so I don't remember a lot of things. And this is where Eva, my best friend, comes in and kind of reminds me.
She did have a concussion. She came to my house.
She knows.
And she told the story like 3 times.
And she was like, you already told me. Okay. But I didn't enjoy it the first time because I think I would remember enjoyment. To be fair, before we actually engaged in intercourse, we had explored probably everything else that kids when you're like learning. Yeah. You used to like
everything.
Build a tent down there, which I was fine with. But that to me was like that was my first orgasm experience. And then the whole finger thing. I had never given him oral pleasure.
Did I tell you about this guy in middle school that tried to put his finger in a bus trip?
What?
He was like, "Come sit with me." He was a popular guy. He was fine. Come sit, and I know his name, but I ain't gonna air him out.
Air him out.
No, I ain't gonna air him out.
Air him out.
No. So he says, "Come sit with me," and I was like, "Oh my god, he likes me." So then I had shorts on, and he was trying to put his hand up my shorts, and I was like, "What are you doing?"
In middle school?
Middle school. I was in the 8th grade trip. He was like, "Let me put my finger in it." I said, "And where?"
See, but I feel like that's part of the no sex talk as well.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many layers to this no sex talk because it's like, especially, I mean, not to assign gender roles, but like, especially if you're a woman, I feel like someone needs to have a conversation with you so that in those moments, again, you feel empowered and you feel like, this is what my mom told me about. That
Mhm.
boys is nasty and boys are curious
Mhm.
and boys will do whatever and say whatever and probably degrade you if they have to once
Mhm.
they start feeling like you're rejecting them. But it has nothing to do with you.
Right.
Because at the same time, not to their defense, but they're learning as they go as well.
Mhm.
And I feel like
Oh, he
boys
was a
have
hoe.
different
He was
exposure,
a
though.
hoe.
Yes.
He was a hoe.
Boys have different exposure. I feel like boys are encouraged to like get a blowjob. It's funny because I mean, not to speak of my first boyfriend too much, but since it's the no sex talk, his first experience was with a much older girl.
Mm.
And he was like 12, 13.
Oh.
Yeah. And she was like 17,
Mm.
which is older when you're young.
That's abuse.
Yeah, it is. If you're
Like
out
me, I was
there.
about to be assaulted in my fucking school bus
Yes.
if I didn't get up and move.
So
And then-
this is part of the no sex talk. Like no one prepared you to be like. So imagine if you were another girl and you would have let him because you felt.
And I'm sure. I mean, the way.
How many girls would have let him, which made him feel
Well,
like he
this is
could
the
say
thing.
to
He
you,
was so comfortable in doing it that I'm sure that he did it before.
Yes.
So I got up and went to the bathroom. When I came back, somebody else was in my seat.
Oh,
Another girl.
because you were like,
And I was like, okay. And I sat somewhere else, and I was like, thank God. Like something told me flee, and I left.
that's amazing.
It was a coach bus. Mm-hmm.
That's amazing.
Because if not,
On a bus?
I would have been fingered on
How
the way to
bold.
Sturbridge Village.
Which essentially, first of all, the fact that you remember Sturbridge Village.
Eighth grade, girl, when you come out of Hartford, what? You don't remember that?
Yo, essentially, you would have been molested.
Right.
Oh my gosh, shit just got real deep.
Something told me, get up, go to the bathroom. I didn't even have to go to the bathroom. I just got up, went to the bathroom, took a moment. Then I was going to go back and sit down, and somebody was there. So I was like, oh, okay.
But that's beautiful that you felt okay with it and didn't feel like you needed to go back and participate in it or entertain it in any way to like make yourself more secure.
Mm-hmm.
So now that you're a mom, how did you, now Diana has 3 amazing young men. They're grown.
Thank you.
And a gorgeous daughter. So how did you and your husband maybe deal with the sex conversations? And I would love to dig into, was there a difference between the boys and the girl?
Yes.
So this is where you tell us what the difference
So
was.
the boys, well, all of them across the board, we talked to them about making sure that their private parts were not called private parts. You have a penis. It's not a wee-wee. That's your penis. Some people call it a dick,
Mm-hmm.
but that's your penis.
Mm-hmm.
The girl has a vagina. Some people call it pussy. Like from little.
Oh wow, you really had
From
like
little.
specific.
Yeah.
And when you say little,
From little, like 4.
well,
5,
that's
like
funny
right
because
before they're going to school.
yeah, because Sophie, my daughter, is 3 3/4, as she will tell you, and I feel like we called it. Phil and I, my husband, called it privacy when she was little because she's very in tune since small.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I walk around naked. I'm a nudist. And she, like, maybe it's all kids, but she's very like, mommy, like with my breasts, with my privacy. She's seen me with my period and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I always like walk her through what's happening. Like recently when we went to the bathroom together and I wiped and it wasn't bloody. And she's like, oh, you don't have your period. I was like, no, I don't have my period.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm always very comfortable with that.
Mm-hmm.
And at first it wasn't even about comfort for me. It was like, should I be saying these things to her? And I was like, yeah. So it was privacy, and then now I've let her know that it's vagina, and Daddy has a penis, and she's even asked me like, how did I get here, and blah blah. So I haven't gone into that whole situation, but I love that you like.
Oh yeah, when they were going into school, absolutely. Like when they were like in daycares or staying, it was private parts. Like this is your private part. Nobody's supposed to touch it. Nobody's supposed to. Unless it's a doctor and I'm in the office with you,
Mm-hmm.
like there's a certain age where I'm no longer going to be there, and then you're going to know because you've had years of being at the doctor's office,
Mm-hmm.
and they've touched you in a way where you know what it is. So even if you go to a doctor's office and it feels different, tell me,
Mm-hmm.
because then you've had years of experience of having an exam, of having.
Right.
So if it feels different.
Oh, you mean as you get older.
Right.
And you feel uncomfortable.
Right.
I think I love that. And it's actually very interesting that as a woman now, every time I see my GYN, well, she's a woman, so not anymore, but my GYN for 11 years in New York, he always, even though he became my homeboy and my, like, we love each other, he always had his, like,
a nurse there?
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, I'm sure it's now because of lawsuits and stuff, but it does give you a sense of comfort, even though for me and Dr. Moritz in this example, we were super comfortable. It just provides that like buffer of like, okay, so everything that's happening in here is kosher.
Yep. So we did have the conversation about having sex and how you should have it with somebody that you love, because sometimes people have sex with people that they don't love. And then that leads to people talking about their vagina and their penis to other people. And then your whole sex life is out. And everything is so very like, everything, social media.
Well, now with social media that we didn't have to deal with.
In school, period. Everything is so elevated. Everything is so big. Everything is such a drama that sex already is its own little. So until you're ready to do that, then don't, because that's just gonna blow up. There's gonna be another blow up. Unless it's with somebody you trust, somebody you love. You should not just be giving it to anybody.
And that was the conversation with the boys.
The boys, and my daughter.
So the same. Do you feel like your conversations were different at all?
Yeah, well, my daughter was different because we were trying to explain to her, even though she's been dating, well, her boyfriend and her have been liking each other since the 7th grade. They're not.
So they've been friends.
They've been friends for a while. And when I wanted to have the birds and the bees conversation with her, well, her period talk, I was like, okay, this is your, I don't know if you have your period yet, but this is what you're going to have in your bag. So there's leggings, extra pair of panties, and some pads, pills, all this. So she's like, so I just keep this in my bag all the time. I said, yep, you keep one in your bag, maybe one in your locker. Okay. So we started talking about it. She's like, Mom, relax. And I was like, why are you telling me to relax? She was like, because we've already had this in middle school. And I was like, oh.
Had what?
The conversation about the period.
Oh, okay.
Right? So then I was like, okay, so you guys have also talked about, sex and how people could get pregnant, how you could get STDs, how, all these things. She's saying, yes, Mom. And I was like, okay. So then I added to that part where I was like, it becomes crazy if you don't love the person. You have to make sure that you love the person, number one. Number two, that you're like protected. Because no matter how much you might trust and love this person, they might be having something else with somebody else and bring whatever's going on over there over here. So when people have multiple situations, then you're going to have multiple situations with the yeast and all that shit. So you don't want that. She did the same thing. So
not the multiple situations with the yeast and all that. I mean, it's true.
It's true.
If you're gonna have to talk, you gotta have it.
You gotta have it. And so I did bring that up about how I was told the first time you have, and if you're not protected, you might get pregnant, but you may also get AIDS. You can also get, chlamydia. You can also get gonorrhea. What are those? Look them up.
They're not.
Not good.
Good.
They're not good.
And some never go away.
Oh. They stay around forever.
But you mentioned something that I think is interesting, because for her and for women, the sex talk or not, I mean, maybe they can be incorporated into one, because once you get your period is when your hormones change and you literally can get pregnant. For the record, you can get pregnant at 10, at 9, as soon as you get a period. Literally, that's what your period
we have so many friends that were pregnant.
Girl.
Young as fuck.
FYI, for any of the men who listen to us, you can get pregnant as soon as you get your period. Literally. So I would think that I never had the period talk. Did you have the period talk? No. I think we may have touched upon this in another podcast.
No.
But
I had it with my daughter, but no.
I definitely didn't have the period talk. I got my period for the first time in Puerto Rico. I was with my cousin. I was 12, and my aunt, and I thought I shitted in my panties. Straight up. TMI, whatever. The disclaimer on this podcast is we talk about what nobody wants to talk about. And this is my personal experience. And I'm going to share it because I'm transparent. And so is Dee. So welcome to Cositas Mommy Never Told Me that we're about to fucking tell you. Okay?
Okay.
So I go to the bathroom and I was like, my panties are brown. And I said, oh my God, I shitted in my pants. But I knew I hadn't shitted in my pants. So I called my cousin and I was like, I didn't even think period, PS. I was 12. Everything was lined up for it to have been my period. But because I had never had the period talk, I didn't even think period. And she comes in and I was like, oh my God, Kathy, I think I went to the bathroom. And she goes, oh, nena, no, eres señorita, which is essentially I'm a woman now. And I was like, what?
What's that mean?
I'm a woman. And it's like, then they took me to Pizza Hut to celebrate. I don't know. P.S.
You got some pizza.
At least I got pizza. P.S. In that summer, in a span of 2 months, I got boobs. I grew like 3 inches. But the other thing to that is I was scared to shower. I didn't, like, this is the conversation that I never had. I was scared to shower. I thought I was going to bleed everywhere. I thought it was going to be a fucking mass murder scene. I didn't know how to put on a pad. Like, what does this do? How often do you change it? Should it smell? What's a good smell? What's a bad? Like, I didn't know any of this.
It's always a bad smell.
It's disgusting. Awful. It's awful.
I'm over here like...
Awful.
So bad.
Awful. Nonetheless, I never had the conversation, so I didn't know. I mean, granted, that first period was just that. I literally had that, and then the next time around, it was more regular, but I never had the period talk.
Me either. And I told
What did your mama tell you?
She didn't tell me shit.
I mean, I already know her mama didn't tell her
It's
anything,
okay,
but
right,
for this
because
podcast, I'm going to need Dee to be a little more descriptive.
both of us had our shit in Puerto Rico. So,
oh, your story's intense. Please share.
So my grandmother had white sheets and stuff on her bed because she just didn't believe in any other color sheets. And we had mosquiteros around the bed. Mosquitero is like a mosquito net because mosquitoes were off the chain. Like there was no barrier between the window and the inside. Like now you have screens and shit. No. My grandma had no, like there was roaches, all types of shit flying in that motherfucker.
Wow. Oh, so you had the mosquitero. That's like the net over the bed.
Around the bed.
Around the bed.
So that was my first experience. I never slept in no fucking mosquitero, right? So we get there, unpack whatever. And I'm sleeping in the mosquitero. I'm in the middle, right? It's a twin bed, mosquitero. Like all the beds had a mosquitero. So I'm laying there in a mosquitero, whatever.
She say mosquitero one more time.
So I'm laying there. The next morning I wake up and there's blood everywhere. And there's also some brown
stains. So you experienced the murder scene.
That was a murder scene.
That
there was also some brown stains. So, you know, I had been bleeding.
The brown part is the part that you're like... I had been
bleeding through the night.
And you over here thought you were sweating, probably.
No, I didn't do nothing. Like, I got up and I was like, what the fuck? Mosquito net wrapped around my legs. So I'm thinking this mosquito net fucked my legs up. I thought I got, like, fucked up with them, 13. I'm in my head, I'm like, I got cut up by these mosquito nets. So I called my mother.
No, for sure.
She comes into the room. She's like, oh.
Oh, my God.
That's in Spanish. Ese es tu periodo.
That's your period.
Te lo va una vez al mes.
It's coming once a month.
Y I'll give you pads.
I give you pads.
And I was like, no explanation about how much blood, how long the blood's gonna last.
The insensitivity with the delivery kit is like, like I envision you in therapy at like 25, like.
Then, but wait, back when I was 13, they didn't have the always flat, whatever. They had the
no, it was Kotex.
Pillows, B. Straight pillows in your shit. And I'm in Puerto Rico, it was like 107 degrees. So there's sweat, blood, everything happening in that motherfucker. My pussy was comfortable. It was hot as fuck.
Yo.
It was hot. It was
Yo. And then
and
the
I didn't
smell,
know, and I didn't
and
know,
then the heat.
but then I didn't know when to change, how many times.
This is what
to
I'm
change.
saying. Like,
You know
that's
what
what
I'm
I'm saying. Like,
So it's like-
there's so much more. There's so many layers to all these conversations. So then there's the sex, right? So with the sex talk, there's like, whether it's love, whether it's sex, whether it's pressure, whether it's layers, whether it's condom, what it looks like, intercourse, the penis goes in the vagina, it's gonna hurt. Like, there's so many layers, right? Or like, when you're having the intimacy, the other things to intimacy, like when a boy sucks on your breast, or when you kiss, or like all this stuff. Just like with the period, it's like, oh, okay, you're gonna get your period. There's cramps, there's pain, there's bleeding, there's sometimes no cramps, there's tampon, there's pad. How do you put it on? Does it have tape? How often do you change it?
In our fucking culture, if a man was having a period, we would all know. We would all know about that blood coming out that little ass fucking hole, out the snake eye. We would know. Think about that.
Talking to the mic.
Think about that shit.
Tell them what it
The
is.
snake eye would be bleeding, and everybody would know.
Everybody would know.
Because God
Y'all
forbid,
motherfuckers get
God
a
forbid the
booger
man.
in your nose.
the man bleeds. Fuck outta here.
And everybody gotta know.
And everybody got the solution, and everybody got a sleeve to put
Porque
over
para
the
el
condom
nene,
for
porque
the
para el
period.
nene, porque para el nene se le tiene que hacer todo cómodo. Todo cómodo, se le tiene que dejar todo. Yo, you know what? I just had a vision.
Oh shit!
I just had a vision. I just had a vision.
They blend those.
If
Like a
Latino,
whole
if
side
Latino men got their period, you know what it would look like?
a mess.
The bathroom, you know what would happen?
Oh, it'd be
Latina
all over the
moms
wall.
would set up. No, they wouldn't be all over the wall. It would be all over the wall because men cannot follow instruction, even if you
they don't-
pasted it on
they
their
pee
forehead.
outside the fucking toilet. So
But
nothing
you know what it would look like? You would walk into the bathroom, right? And the Latina mom would have set up baby wipes, the pads with a little note that said, you know, this is what you should expect.
Mhm.
When you bleed, you wipe with this. This is the circled motion that you wipe. You put this on, you peel it. It would have been set up
Not the peel. What
by
are you peeling?
nene.
What are you peeling?
The back part of the Kotex.
They wouldn't have the back part of a cold tape. They would have to slip it on their dick. Like a condom.
Well, now you're like inventing
How
protection.
about you?
I'm using existing protection. Okay. She literally just went on an invention. We trademarked it. Do not steal it.
Yo. Slip it on. No, but for real, if a man was the one going through it, we would know about it.
Oh,
we know
for
every
sure.
fucking thing else about them.
For sure.
So, you know, everything is taboo. And when it came to that in my family, and as I know, as in yours, so it's kind of fucked up, really. You know what I'm saying? And thank goodness always came out when I was like 15 years old. And then I was like, there's no way that all this blood is going to be captured here. So then I was doing a test of like every 1 hour. And
And that's
It worked.
that's another conversation to be had. Like, that everyone's period is different. That some girls last 6 days. That some girls last 2. That some girls have heavy flow. That some girls have a light flow. That some get cramps. Some don't. Like, the whole situation.
And some don't change when they need to, and they stink all fucking day.
You know, D always
some
gotta
nasty ass
add some
bitches.
shit. That's not what we're
Change
talking.
your shit.
It's not what we're talking about. This is not an episode on hygiene. This is an
Change
episode
your
on the
shit.
no sex period talk. Here she go. The worst thing I did.
You know, I swear you probably know her name. Everybody got one.
I do.
That's
I
what I'm
literally
saying.
named.
Don't air out.
I
Don't
named
air out.
3 in my head.
Yeah. So see,
ASAP.
that's what I'm saying. But they probably didn't have the sex talk too. They didn't know when to change it, how to change it, when, why. They probably did. Girl, there's so many.
Do you think that not having the sex talk had a longer term effect on your life? Not maybe sexually, maybe in relationships, whatever. Do you think you would have made different decisions?
Yes.
How?
I think that if they would explain to me about making, like, waiting to the person that you love, like knowing more about the person and all that
Mhm.
stuff,
Mm-hmm.
I probably shouldn't have been with somebody that was that much older than me. If she would have told me maybe date someone that's more your age. Like, but we didn't talk about any of those things. You know, my mother was really busy, a lot of work, a lot of jobs. You know, so I was left
for sure.
I was left, and she was a single mom, so I was left with having to take care of my siblings. And when I didn't have my siblings, I wanted to do my thing. But if I think if I would have known a little bit more, I probably would have been like, yeah, let me wait, or maybe I don't know. Even I think 18 is a long time.
It is. I think you did exceptional.
Where we grew up at.
Oh my god, you did exceptional.
Where everybody was having babies and shit.
Exceptional.
I think that scared me too, though. Like when I saw other people,
everybody with kids.
Yeah, and then they
because you literally at that point you were literally like, oh my god, you have sex and you get pregnant.
Right, and then I'm like changing pads and shit. And I'm like, shit, I'm still trying to figure this out. Imagine a baby.
Changing pads, changing diapers.
Changing diapers and pads. Oh hell no! I gotta change pads on everybody around the house.
But you said something that I think is interesting because you said, if you would have had the conversation with my mom and she would have told you to at least wait until you love someone. I think there's a lot to unpack there too, emotionally, like knowing what it is that is love. Girl.
Because I thought I loved them.
Right? So here's the thing.
But I know now that I did not then.
Right.
I just know that I had an older boyfriend.
Right.
Like, oh,
so here's the thing. Again, not to refer to my first boyfriend so often, but this is a first experience. I think back on that relationship, and I definitely think it was puppy love. I don't think it was like I was so in love, like we were kids. If you have the conversation with him, he'll probably say something different. But it would have been nice to just have a transparent, honest conversation about, yes, love comes in different forms, but like, what should it really feel like? Like, what should it like now? Love as a 42-year-old comes with, obviously it's different, but it comes with like joy. It comes with like partnership. It comes with like building together. And even at that age, there should be joy, happiness, partnership, and even building together. We should want to do well in school. Like we should want to encourage each other with sports or whatever it is at that age. But I wasn't even clear on what love was. At that point, I think it was like I necessarily didn't have good examples of a relationship with my parents anyway. So thank God that I had a boyfriend who was actually nice. I mean, the qualifications were minimal at that point. But it wasn't like I was also taught to look for someone who exceeded anything. And then the example that I had was like, not, my parents were divorced. Right. So it's like, again, not in my situation, because I do think he was a really nice guy. I do think we had a healthy relationship for what it was, but was it love? Right. Should I have lost my virginity? Clearly I shouldn't have. He cheated on me. Or I either found out he cheated on me soon after, or he cheated on me soon after. I can't remember. But I just didn't even know what to look for in a boy. And then
in a boy.
And there it is.
I mean, there's some grown ass men out here acting like a boy still, so grown ass men out here acting like boys.
Exactly. But the example that I had was not great either. So it's like,
right. You don't have anything to compare it to. Yep. When you could be told.
Yes, when you can be like, or that's another thing. Let's talk about it. So then you get a boyfriend, you got to hide it. Because you're not allowed to have a boyfriend. Right. So now my hormones are raging. I have this boyfriend. I want to feel and act like an adult. So I engage in a relationship, but now I'm hiding everything. So even though you kind of know I have un noviecito, you act like I don't. But now, instead of opening the doors to have healthy conversation, you make me continue hiding, and who knows what the fuck stupid decisions I'm making.
Because they want to ignore the whole situation.
Right. So why is it that culturally what is it? I don't know what it is that culturally limits us from having these conversations. Like from having these conversations that are inevitable. And then the other shit is,
because we lived through
culturally, we have mad babies. And for generations, they have mad babies. So people was fucking a lot.
It was fucking back then even more.
A lot. Like, there's people who have 13, 14, and how many
15,
miscarriages?
15
And
kids.
to get pregnant, you gotta fuck.
Yeah. 15, 16 kids, 22 kids. Crazy. I don't think they had TVs, though.
Here she go. I don't think they had TV.
They didn't, because I know some old folks, some old heads, like grandparents, that they step on nosotros no tenían TV.
So is that that's a whole nother episode.
Yeah, that's something to do.
That's a whole nother
That's
episode.
something to do.
Because if you ain't having sex in your relationship, take the TV off the
Take
wall.
the TV out. I know what the problem is.
You got a TV.
I know what the problem is.
Netflix. Everybody Netflix, no chilling.
Straight no Netflix.
No chilling. Damn, Z.
Oh my goodness. Oh,
so many
crazy.
revelations.
So
So many revelations. So, did you answer the question? And you may have. Because for me, I would have made so many different decisions as I
absolutely.
went from
Absolutely.
sexual partner to sexual partner.
Yeah. I would have absolutely made a lot of different choices, a lot of, like, I feel like I have based earlier on, I used her as a showing.
Her, for those listening, she pointed at her vagina.
Used her as the way that I would show love.
Interesting. Unpack that a little bit.
So, oh, you don't love me? Type shit. And in my head, I was sort of kind of like, well, let me show him.
Really?
Mm-hmm. A couple times. Yeah.
Let me show him how
See my
much
face?
I love him, or let me show him how much he loves me.
No, how much I love him.
Mm. Interesting.
But that's not really, like, when I was early 20s. Yep. Then I became a dude in my
Interesting.
head. And I was like,
yeah, I don't know. I think for me, it was. I mean, I don't know if it would have been the sex talk or not, but I definitely there's definitely a few take the pussy back line people that I would put in that line. For sure.
why the fuck did I do that?
Oh, I mean, and it's like my roster is not even that depthy, but I would definitely be like,
Yo. People get into conversations, right? I always only share what I don't mind other people sharing of me, right?
right.
Unless, it's you or a couple other people that I've shared stuff with. But people get comfortable in sharing things, numbers.
Mm.
So we had a conversation here, and somebody said, I ain't gonna say who, but somebody said, well, I definitely think I've been with over 100 people. Yo, there was a calmness in the room, right? It felt like everybody went into their closet and got a robe and became judges.
100 people? Who's the guy in the basketball? Will Chamberlain?
So
Who's the
100 or 50?
the basketball
Like
player?
50 or 100? It was one of them two.
Who's the basketball player?
Will Chamberlain.
I mean,
Will Chamberlain.
even 50, my dude. Like, let's say 50. I'm 42. That means that's like a good amount of sexual partners in a year.
I mean, people have told me crazy ass numbers, and I just sit there like, oh.
I mean, P.S. But Cositas Mommy never told you it's not a judgment zone.
Oh, no,
so
listen.
if you want your number to
Like
be
it, I love
50, 100, 150, if you like it,
I love it.
if you like it,
I absolutely love it.
bad.
Yeah, I don't. But other people in the room, I only bring it up because other people in the room automatically were like,
Yeah, but you
and
know
I was just
what?
like,
But you know what?
that's her pussy.
But you know
Like,
what?
if she-
Oh, and it was a woman.
50 motherfuckers, that's her pussy. Who cares?
Facts.
I don't give a fuck.
So, here's another thing.
Well, but this is the thing, right? In my head, automatically, and I was gonna ask, but then I was like, nah, I'm not gonna take it too deep. In my head, automatically, I'm like, are they disgusted or are they just jealous they weren't the ones that get?
Or are they curious?
Or no. That's what I thought. I was like, are they disgusted or are they just mad they couldn't?
Because let's unpack that. Let's unpack that. Is there disgust in the quantity of sexual partners you've had? Like, should there be a sense of disgust because you are sexually explorative?
I don't see it like that, because if she knew enough, and then she was saying stuff like, I knew enough that if I had sex with that guy and I didn't like it, that was it.
So she's basically saying, I meet a guy and I definitely would have sex the first day I meet him.
No. They would be together for a few months or whatever.
Okay.
And she would have sex with him. If she didn't like it, that was it. She would do it. I
feel like that's super empowering, though, because what happens?
Exactly.
You stay in a situation, you don't like it, you keep hoping it's going to get better. Exactly. And P.S., now that I'm 42, you come to realize that sex, I mean, I don't know if it's after 40, 35, whatever, for me, is super important. So it's like, is there something to be said? And is there something, again, empowering, which I feel like is the word for me in this podcast today, when you can be like, nah, that wasn't good. Nah, I've tried it. And you know what? If that's an area for me, that's a non-negotiable.
And she did say she had a couple one-night stands. You know what I'm saying? And she just never went back to them.
What are your thoughts?
For her to be transparent and say it, and then after people were judging her, and I was just like, I don't give a fuck. That's a pussy. They were like, well, we don't give a fuck either. I was like, no.
Yeah, I do give a fuck.
No.
Yeah, where's the gavel?
All y'all are saying
where's the gavel?
You know what I'm saying? So, because the same people that, were having issues were the same people that were saying they wouldn't do American Idol. So,
She said American Idol, so now she needs to explain what that means.
Okay, so when you have children, you can't say that you're going to suck a dick. You're going to say you got American Idol. You're welcome.
You get the hint.
Right.
Something to be said. Do you think this girlfriend of yours had the sex talk? And
she did.
Do you think, with her parents?
Mm-hmm. With her mom.
Do you think that led her to feel empowered?
She started young, and she was very curious, was what she said. She started young and she was curious.
Which, by the way, real talk, 100, I feel like you're full of shit if you think that you're not curious when it comes to sex. Mm-hmm. I'm curious about so many things in life, which is why I travel, which is why I live. I try. I have a saying where it's like, if you don't try, it's not even a saying. It's not proprietary to me, but I really live by if you don't try and go for it, and either decide if you fall on your ass, but fuck it, I tried. Then what are we doing?
Yeah, and then I was like, but what's one of the things I said was what's a number that is okay with you?
This is what I'm saying.
Because
this is what I'm saying.
Somebody said
so would you rather be with one person since high school?
Somebody said there was only with 6 people in the whole night, and they was over 40.
She lying.
So I said 6 people. Girl. 6 people. Come on. 6 people.
But I just thought of something. I did think of something. I know a few people who've been with the same person since high school.
Mm-hmm. That's different, though.
That's one person.
Yeah, that's different. That's different. You know what I'm saying? But don't sit there and be like, having a fucking seizure. You've been with somebody, just one person. I don't know. I guess, everybody has an opinion, and I value everybody's opinion, but I was just curious to know why. Why are you feeling this way? Why are you judging her?
Yeah.
You had no parts in whatever was going on with her, but she's okay with it. So why aren't you?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Does she have kids?
No.
P.S. Diana's dog, who's gorgeous,
I'm about to release her,
is barking. She'll be on the next episode. How do we want to end this conversation? Because this is a conversation that we can talk about forever. I never had the sex talk. You didn't have the sex talk. You had it with your kids. My daughter's 3.5. I plan to have it with her. I plan to lead up to it as I've been leading up to it. I definitely feel like not having the sex talk didn't equip me to make smarter decisions. I feel like having had it, I don't know if it would have necessarily changed anything, but even to kiss, like my first kiss took 6 months, 7 months. I was like petrified to kiss. I didn't even like, like how do you kiss? Open your, I mean, I guess there may be some things that should be left to exploration. Like you should be left to like, I don't know if you necessarily need to get instructions on what a kiss is or how a kiss should be. I mean, like an open mouth kiss, but I was so scared. I was petrified.
So was I. I didn't know what the hell I was doing.
Right?
My first kiss, somebody stuck their tongue in my mouth. What the fuck are you doing?
Exactly.
Because when you watched kissing on TV, it was like
that's fake. It's
you never
fake.
do the side. So when he went to like stick his tongue in my mouth, I was like, "What are you doing?" And I think he had something to eat. So it was still
in there.
Like the taste was in his mouth, and then the taste was in my mouth.
Pizza
so
crumbs.
It was like nasty.
Nasty.
I was like, "Yeah, I don't mind that shit now." You can stick your tongue wherever you want. That's a bit irritating.
My tiny ass for it.
That's crazy ass shit.
What would you end this no sex talk capítulo de cositas mommy never told me?
I would say if you have kids, no matter what age they are, just make sure that they are comfortable in knowing about what their bodies are doing. Like what, because if they're going to share their body with someone else, they should know what their body is doing. Like what their body does, what could you create if you're a guy? You can actually put what is semen into another person and possibly get them pregnant. You know what I'm saying? So you're giving a gift. So you could phrase it as a gift. You could phrase it as whatever, but just know what your body is doing. You keep in touch with what your body is doing when you're not having sex. Like right before when you're still a virgin. How you're having, once you start having sex, stay in tune with your body, what your body's doing. Because, first signs of anything, your body starts acting crazy, like something start happening down there, you got a little burn. What's going on?
Yo, why you always go to the burns and the STDs?
Well, you gotta go to the drastic, right? Because shit, you gotta know, you can't shield, I don't believe in that. I don't believe in shielding your children from things. They should see everything. They should, even now, everything's like right there. I mean, everything, any computer.
True.
Everything's right there.
I definitely think. I think if anything, the time to I feel like back in the day, the no sex talk was like acceptable, not acceptable. I think it should have been had in any time because sex and hormones have been ever existing. But I do think that young people nowadays face something so unique with social media and the exposure, and they can literally look anything up. So why would you want it to come from a stranger? And rather, wouldn't you just want yourself to maybe potentially be a little uncomfortable at the beginning, or even have your kids feel uncomfortable, but like privately feel like at least my mom or dad tried to have this conversation with me.
Right.
I feel
at least I know what's coming.
Yes. Even if they're like, oh my God, mom, it's so gross. We just want to hope they're listening because they're going to. Your bodies are built for this. Like we're built to be touched and loved and hugged and like explored upon and explored together. So I just feel like now is the perfect time to have these conversations because if you don't, someone else will.
And they could build a narrative when you could just be the resource in your house. You could be the one that's giving the guide. Like, this could happen because of this. This could happen because of this. So why not?
And also, like, I don't want to make light of, like, this can happen because of this, because it has a negative connotation to it. But it doesn't have to be such a negative experience.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, sex when you're young is not necessarily what you want to promote, but it doesn't have to be so bad. It's not like if you're having it responsibly, if you're
being safe,
committed, if you're being safe, if you're in a healthy relationship, if you're both, even though immature, having some sort of conversation, if you've both said we're going to be exclusive to each other, all these other things that I think are important to touch upon, and it's like this no sex talk isn't just a one-time sit-down conversation.
Right.
I think
continuous.
It's continuous.
It's continuous. Because now, like, hooking up is just so easy. Like,
Situationships.
Hooking up.
My yeah.
My
little yeah.
We found out by Naya. Shout out to her.
Is that the beautiful young lady who did my passions with?
Yeah. So we asked her. Well, Rocio asked her.
Yeah, I was like, what is it that you young kids are referring to now as like situationship? And she was like, oh, my little yeah, which to me is so degrading. Fuck. I don't want to be nobody's little yeah, little nothing. But
oh my God,
shout out to the kids. I don't know.
My little yeah.
If I was 16, 15 and a dude I'm messing with, which the funny thing is I wasn't messing with it. If I was messing with somebody, he was my boyfriend. But if he referred to me as his little yeah. Like, that's definitely
then I asked her why.
Not a badge of honor, though, my kid. Like, that's not what we're trying to do.
I asked her why. Because you always got to say yeah. Like, if you call it.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah. She did point that out, that the little yeah is like the guarantee. So I guess the set or the mindset is that it's not my girl. This is like my jump off who's always down.
Right.
Oh.
I mean, but if she's always down.
So then why not make her your girl?
She probably don't want to be his girl. I'm talking like I was in my 20s. Like, you want to take me where?
Let's end this though by saying, I think these conversations still need to be had as adults too.
Absolutely, continuously.
I think it's a healthy
with your relationship. If you're not liking something that's going on sexually in your relationship, if you're not liking something that's going on, say something.
And just with your girlfriends too.
Yes.
Like Dee and I, first of all, the birth of this podcast came because I feel like we're probably too transparent women. You know what I'm saying? Because what you get on this podcast is 10% of what we're really talking about. But we always say how even with your girlfriends, you feel like there's not enough healthy conversation. There's not enough honest conversation about what's really happening and what the expectations should be in our relationship.
Mm-hmm.
There's like this taboo. It could be culturally, or it could come from never having had the sex talk. Who knows? But you got to break those chains, because as of lately, I've come to find out so much stuff. The more honest I am, which I'm always honest, but the more honest or engaging or encouraging I am of conversations, you're like, girl, why didn't you tell me you ain't been fucking for like how many years? And you're married.
Hi, Lola.
And
Lola,
there she is.
Lola's making an appearance, y'all. Go there. Go. Well, anyways, yeah. So it's interesting that you say that, right? Because when I have conversations with women, right, and I ask certain things, right, like would you do this in bed? Like, would you do? Okay, so anal came up.
Isn't that a whole other podcast?
It is, but I'm just gonna
touch upon it.
I'm just gonna touch it.
She's gonna touch it.
It's gonna touch like the tip.
Toes.
So anal came up, and because we were talking about just everything, and someone said I didn't say because it would have been me. I would have said I brought up anal, but anal came up, and I was so surprised at the amount of women that were like, "Oh, I would never,"
mm-hmm.
And I was like, "Is that a mask?" Because the lube is being sold at a fast rate, and it's not just. Come on now.
Is that proven data? Let's look that up.
No, but I'm just saying, come on. Like, come on. Like, just be transparent. Like, why you gotta be lying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't understand. I know my audience are usually, like I told you earlier, I only share what I don't mind being shared about me. So I just usually just sit there like, Lola, you're doing too much.
She's fine.
You're doing too much.
So the funny thing is that who's listening?
Now they're gone.
Anyway, the funny thing is that genetically, though, the anus is an area of huge sensitivity. Me, transparently, it's never been my thing. But I have very good friends
They
who
love it.
prefer anal
They love it.
versus
They-
tradition. I mean, they are for both, and
They
these
go
are
back and
women in
forth.
heterosexual relationships, and or they do like the butt plug and the intercourse at the same time, and they're like the experience is so mind blowing. I'm not against trying anything. The only thing I will not try, I don't want anybody else in my bedroom, because I'm an extremely jealous human being. But
like threesomes, you mean?
yeah, that's just not my thing. But it's so funny to me how publicly people are like, but privately,
Hoeing.
And
I don't mean hoeing like that, but I just mean
no,
some
but
people-
like sexually
some people
exploratory, sexually curious,
Right, but some
sexually
people-
open.
But some people will be like doing all that, but then they done fucked everybody in fucking Hartford. Everybody done had that.
Well, clearly not fucked well. Because if you're so uptight,
Well, but that's what I'm saying. That's the perception, right? Because Hartford is but so small.
But no pun intended.
So small. So then, people are all, out here talking something. But if you mess with more than 5 guys out here, people know. So they talk. Dudes love conversation. Bars, freaking barbershops. That's the best too, by the way.
Yeah, we're gonna definitely do an episode from the
I love
barbershop.
barbershop. But we gotta contain it though, because I tried to do that and I was
They be going
there
off the
was
rails.
a lot. People were drinking, it was crazy. But they're not very comfortable in barbershops.
Men are very comfortable in settings where you make them feel comfortable. I mean, sidebar conversations I've had with some public figures that you're like, oh shit. And I'm like, oh shit. So the truth is, guys talk about the same shit we talk about.
Oh, absolutely.
Literally.
Absolutely. And women too, like we were saying in the other podcast. It doesn't matter how much money you make. It doesn't matter where you grew up in.
Yep.
It doesn't matter where you live
Yep.
right now.
Yep.
Whatever subset of people are talking the same shit. They're talking the same shit. It's so funny. And I just sit there and laugh because it's like, bruh. But then be uptight. Sometimes some people there's a couple prudes, but
They're fakes.
so fake.
They need to get ass.
Look.
Have you ever had the sex talk? Let us know.
Right? And have it. Why not? I mean, it's a part of life. It's a part of reproduction, and that's what the Google said about the birds and the bees.
Oh, was it?
They cross-pollinate.
Oh, birds and bees
Birds.
cross-pollinate.
Mm-hmm.
Learn
So
something
that's what they
new.
use.
Learn something new. That's
Fucking
why
birds
it's
and the
birds and the bees. Have you had this conversation? Did someone have the conversation with you? Let us know. Send us a DM.
Give us some feedback.
Give us some feedback. We want to know what your no sex talk conversation was or
if you
wasn't.
did.
Yeah, if you did. And if you're planning to or have had it with your kids and what their response was to it.
I would say just be transparent with them. Don't try to pussyfoot around.
No pun intended.
Because there's
Oh
so
my
much
God.
stuff out here that's already giving people mad information.
Yeah.
Why not it come from the source from the home,
I agree.
from the person that they most trust?
I agree. On that note,
Thank you for coming to Connecticut. Now she's going to Puerto Rico, so I'm mad about it.
coming to you live and direct from
Windsor, Connecticut.
Love ya.
My bad. I'll be missing cues.
Bye.
Gracias for listening to Cositas Mommy Never Told Me. We hope you loved this episode. Make sure you subscribe, follow, and share Cositas Mommy Never Told Me on all your social channels. Todas las redes sociales. And don't forget, if you want in on the real tea and see all of our reactions to the craziness, watch this episode on YouTube. ¡Qué bochinche!